welcome to the first ever 4th and 69 podcast. Half of us are in transient locations due to life, I would say, and whatnot. So, honestly, the easiest way to do this is just give a quick little background on, I guess, us. My name is Kevin Tanenbaum. I am an active duty Air Force photojournalist at the moment. That's where we all met. We met at Nellis Air Force Base. Hell on earth. Just kidding. It's not that bad, I'll be honest. And then we just decided, since we already do this in our group chat to begin with, why not just do it on a longer format and, just talk. And that's all we're really here to do. This is just a podcast about sports, betting, a little bit of stocks thrown in, and just a little bit of everything. Okay, so who knows where we're going to go with this? To be honest, we tend to get off on tangents as it is. But I personally am so just to give you a little insight into the biases, I'm a diehard Bears fan, even though they consistently depress me, and have since Rex Grossman was the quarterback. Also a Heat fan, Florida Gators. Was very happy with this divisional round kicker for the Bengals. He's just got balls the size of fucking Canada. And a Yankees fan, but baseball is baseball. It's kind of boring. But I'll go ahead and throw it over to Nasty Nate over there, the beautiful ginger that he is, to kind of give you guys an intro into who he is.
Yeah, so Nasty Nate, otherwise known as just Nasty. So that's the only two things I go by. Nurse practitioner, and really with the podcast, hoping to gain some traction and maybe just have a spin-off of Adult Toys, the Nasty Nate line. And so that's kind of the big goal there. Diehard Grizzlies fan, Niners fan. Like I said, baseball, probably won't talk a lot of baseball, but Braves fan. And then hockey, whatever. But yeah, that's me. I'm a degenerate gambler. And then right now I'm on the verge of killing myself due to stocks. So this might be the only episode we do.
And then we'll get the I don't know what to call you, just golden brown or just chocolate. I don't know. It's just gorgeous. The man in the stringer at the moment, Ika.
Yeah, so name's SB, also still in the Air Force, going to be in the Air Force. Grew up Arizona, so have a bias towards Arizona teams and players. So I actually was a Steelers fan, but I'm probably more just who's helping me more in fantasy or betting. That's who I'm a fan of. But I do, so college football, got to go with USC Trojans. It's a big Lincoln Riley fan right now, so we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully Caleb Williams comes over. But yeah, I think overall we're just three bros who all kind of aligned under love of sports and sports media.
I couldn't agree more. But let's get past our BS and get into a weekend that I don't want to talk in the moment, air quotes, but it might be the best and just best weekend of football ever for the playoffs. It was by far one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I feel every game came down to field goal, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we just have to lead off with the literal insanity that was the Bills and Chiefs. What the fuck did we watch?
Well, what we saw is no defense. And it's kind of mind-blowing to see at the end of the game the strategies that these defensive coaches had. The Chiefs, 13 seconds, the big mistake was right off the bat. Josh Allen has played perfect football throughout the playoffs, so it's hard to see him get bounced, especially Bills Mafia finally getting to see the Bills kind of do their thing post-COVID. So definitely hard to see him bounce, but the mistake was, first off, kicking it through the end zone and causing a touchback because you ran no time off at that point in time. So you gave Patrick Mahomes 13 seconds, and for some reason we're playing prevent defense to stop a touchdown from happening when all they needed was a field goal to tie it. And then just like, hey, we're not going to cover Travis Kelce. Like, not going to happen. Like a crazy last minute and a half. If you didn't watch any football and you just watch that last minute and a half, you got your fill of like everything you could want in football. And then, Gabriel Davis breaking the record for most touchdowns by a receiver in a playoff game.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like anyone who plays fantasy would never have guessed in a million years that would actually happen. The man had literally 6 touchdowns the entire season. Yeah, Allen and Mahomes just fucking balled. Like, there's no other way to say it. Allen ended up with a passer rating of 136, and Mahomes ended up with a passer rating of 123.1. I believe in NFL history, those are 1 and 2 for careers. Like, the fact that they've only been in the league for a handful of years is crazy. I would personally, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the kicking out of the end zone, but I don't think it mattered, to be 100% honest, just because, and also the last time the Bills did that was literally the Music City Miracle. The last time they decided they wanted to squib kick, so that had to just bring up some traumatic memories for them. But even if you squib kick it, and then how many seconds are you going to run off? 3, 4, maybe?
Yeah, probably right around that 3 to 4 range, squibbing it.
So if the team's smart, they just land on it because the ball isn't, the clock doesn't run, the ball isn't live until the player touches it. So then they just immediately grab it and down it. But that aside, they kicked the field goal with 4 seconds left.
Oh yeah,
like at a certain point.
Yeah, it would change the field position big time if they just fell on it. And then so you run that time off, and you're probably starting at the 15-yard line versus like the 25. But yeah, that game was just like the ultimate, like, hey, if you give Patrick Mahomes any time, it doesn't matter how much time, you're probably going to lose. And, the 49ers saw that in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. It doesn't take long for the Chiefs to just go down the field. And then, like, for the Bills, thinking they won it twice. So they go down there, march down. They think they won it.
Allen is screaming on the sidelines.
Yeah, screaming on the sideline. You forget that you have Tyreek Hill, who looks like the fastest man on earth out there. Like, no one can catch him. He can score just like that. He
probably should have been a penalty.
Yeah. So they go up big, and then, Bills come right back. An impressive drive and impressive, I think it was 4th down with that they threw the Gabriel touchdown, thinking they won it, and then 13 seconds. So if you have 13 seconds left, then you don't feel safe against Patrick Mahomes.
So what I'm hoping this game was kind of a preview of is it's like the new Brady and Peyton, right? Like I'm hoping that's what this turns into. I think they both showed that they can do it. So
yeah, that's what literally like every single outlet has been saying. The only and I agree, I think it's the correlation's pretty perfect. I think the only issue with that is the AFC is just absolutely stacked with these young quarterbacks who have an argument to be the Manning or the Brady of that conference. Not only do you have Patty and you have Allen, but you have Herbert and you have Joe Burrow, who's going to say something about that we'll get to that later, if they can ever get him a line. And then even then, I can't wait to see what Lawrence becomes when he's not just under the cloud of Urban Meyer getting grinded on. So I think it might even be beyond that, where they might not always meet in the playoffs just because these other quarterbacks are just balling. And I think it's one of the most promising times for the NFL, especially with all the rule changes and everything that have happened to the game and in the modern era. I think Tom Brady talked about it earlier in the year, not earlier in the year, it was before the year. He had the interview where he talked about kind of what more you can do Like, you can just throw the ball with no regard for human life, basically, and the refs will protect everybody. Well, maybe unless you get a bloody lip. But
let's not forget that we're all losers here, though, with the Chiefs winning, because we have to watch Jackson Mahomes TikToks. So the nation lost the divisional round.
That is actually, I'm not going to lie, that's one of my notes that I took during the game. It's like literally the fact that Patrick Mahomes is good enough to outshine his psychotic family might be the most impressive thing from the game. Just that I still like this guy, even though his brother is what his brother is. I'm just going to put that mildly. I mean, what do you guys think the Bills need to do moving forward?
So offensively, they're fine. Let's just go ahead and say that. I mean, there's nothing they can do like more on offense in terms of like the offensive power that they have. Defensively, I mean, is it scheme wise? I don't know. Can you stop the Chiefs? I mean, they have so many weapons, and in today's football, like, can you stop that offense? It's hard to. So it's just one of those things where you have to kind of break the curse. Like, obviously, Mahomes right now, like, Josh Allen is Mahomes' bitch in terms of like, wins and losses. So for the Bills, it's just like getting that monkey off the back type thing. So, I mean, they'll have chances in the future without Josh Allen. It's kind of progressing in his play. I think they'll be down there. And as soon as the Chiefs, they're like salary cap wizards right now, but eventually that has to like hit with
the
all
$500 million contract.
Yeah. So the talent disparity will change, and then I think that's where the Bills can kind of come in. But for them, the fall off of like Emmanuel Sanders, they got to fill the wide receiver role. I mean, Gabriel Davis is not the answer, even after like 4 touchdown performance. So for them, it's going to be almost like in the NBA where you start like trying to formulate a team that can go against your rival, like the Celtics, Lakers era and stuff like that, where you're trying to fit these pieces that kind of go against that team that you can't get over the hump with. And so for the Bills, it's just going to be building that defense. I mean, they have a good linebacking core, but I mean, obviously you saw what Kelsey did to them on the overtime touchdown. Like, they can't cover them.
Nope.
And so it's just, hey, we got to build a defense and maybe scheme a little bit better. But it's hard to do against good coaches like the Chiefs have.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what Buffalo can actually do in free agency because, historically, nobody's going to Buffalo. So, I mean, yeah, they've done a hell of a job drafting. So I'd like to see them, not have to rely so much on the draft, maybe get a couple playmakers, but it's Buffalo. So
I think that you're going to have to keep building through the draft. You might get a couple players here or there just because of Allen's pedigree, but I don't know.
You kind of think like Antonio Brown, where does he fit in an organization to kind of help them get over the hump if he gets, back into the NFL? And I think the Bills, Emmanuel Sanders obviously is pretty much needs to retire. Does Antonio Brown come in and fill that gap with, Diggs and stuff? It'd be an interesting fit with him in Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big issue is the running back. I think you have to get somebody better than Devin Singletary just because, I mean, it doesn't go that noticed just because Allen is huge. Like, he's literally 6'5" and just a massive human being for a quarterback, but he was taking some shots. And he's obviously not RG3, but like I start to get like that weird feeling when I see a quarterback take that many hits. And if they could bring in a decent running back, I don't know who it is, that can somewhat take the load off of him in the rushing department, so that the threat is still there, but he's not getting destroyed. I think it's a good thing. It's a step forward. And then Diggs.
They made the mistake getting rid of Frank Gore. Do you see how big his balls are? Like, he would have won that game just based on balls alone.
It doesn't help him in the boxing ring, but
no,
I would.
No.
I'd agree. I think the only other thing is Diggs. The 3 receptions for 7 yards is concerning. Was it only because Gabe Davis was just going absolute bananas and literally NBA crossing people on routes? That cornerback just got embarrassed. If anything was due for an Antonio Brown cutting halfway through the game, I think it's just that coverage. But I hope that Diggs, this is not a reflection of his 2022-23 season, partially because I'm tied to him in Dynasty, but also because this team is far too exciting to not have around. This is just, as you said, the Brady Manning thing. I hope it continues for a decade at least. But so that was by far the most exciting game in the last 2 minutes with 25 points being scored. But the game that was literally 4 fucking hours before it, and I'm trying not to cuss so much, but it is literally insanity that the Rams Bucks seemed like a separate day. Was just as crazy in a number of ways. Like the Rams come out and immediately at the half go up 20-3, and they get the 27-3, I believe it was, or was it 27-6? Either one. But you start getting flashbacks of that Super Bowl, and you just like he can't do it again. Like at a certain point, like he's incredible, but Brady can't keep doing it. He can't keep getting away with this. And he does, and he ties it in the fourth quarter. And that long bomb to Evans was a gorgeous throw. Like he just cooked Ramsey. It was just beautiful. I'm pretty sure Brady has sold his soul to the devil for these fumbles and these opportunities just to get back into games. But the Rams played their ass off. Like they had insane pressure and that's something the 49ers are going to have to deal with next week with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and who's their third guy who's basically an all-pro on the line.
Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd. Just were up in Brady's face, made him bleed. I love the meme, the Dwight Goodwin, nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Yeah.
It was great. Cooper Kupp is balling out. Matt Stafford said before the game, it was either this game or the game before that, he just wanted the shot. Just suffering in Detroit for a decade. He just wanted the opportunity to play in big games. And he definitely got it. I feel he's a solid quarterback. He's shaky at times. Like there are times when I look at him and I'm just like, and I feel with the game, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but I just feel that is he going to be able to get this done? And it's like that kind of doubt. Whereas like when I look at Brady, it's just I know this is what's going to happen. He's going to be efficient. He's going to get the ball done, and they're never out of a game. I mean, for me, this doesn't have to do with the Rams Bucks. I would vote Cooper Kupp as MVP. And I don't like Rodgers didn't have a crazy year. He just had the best year as a quarterback. So did Brady. For Kupp to be the Triple Crown winner for the receivers and just I know it's 17 games, but do stuff that just be so far ahead of his peers and be so integral to that offense. I feel like it's only fair to give him the MVP, but it's not going to happen, obviously, because it's a quarterback award.
Yeah, I think you should get bonus points for being white as well as a wide receiver and get that far. I mean, like 17 yards off of the receiving, record. But yeah, I mean, like you watch him and he just like looks uncoverable. Like I don't understand how he's wide open all the time, but he's wide open all the time. And so, yeah, I mean, Stafford, if you go back to the Niners game, they come out blazing in the first half of games. And
they've done the past 3 games.
It wasn't really his fault in the second half. Fumbles and things along those lines, they could have put that away. But where you see Stafford kind of get shaky is when the game's tides start to roll the other way, just like it did in the 49ers. Like there's a span where he plays not very well. He can respond at the end. Like I said, if you look back at that Niner game, hitting Cooper Kupp right there at the end to kind of go up and take the lead. And the 49ers ended up marching down and winning. But there was a span there about third quarter into the mid fourth where like he just looks like garbage and starts throwing these like, low balls and things along those lines. So McVay has some issues with play calling, I think, at that time as well. But yeah, Stafford's just one of those guys, man. When he's on, he is on, but he doesn't stay on fire all the time. And then when he's cold, he's cold. But yeah, just being on that Rams pass rush, all the money that they spent finally showed up. Von Miller, like getting the trade. He wasn't doing much during the regular season, but he showed why they went after and traded for him. Odell's just kind of doing his thing as well. So the Rams are geared to get to the Super Bowl this year. If they don't, it's definitely a lost season for them, especially with the Super Bowl being in LA. Like they're all in on this year. But yeah, I mean, you look back at that trade that the Rams made, and obviously it was a missing piece. I mean, Goff is trash. Let's just be honest. But yeah, like you look at what the Niners gave up to go up and get Trey Lance, what they could have done to get Stafford and get a quarterback who, with that offense, I mean, you got to think what Stafford could do with the Niners and give up so much less. So kudos to them for going out and getting him in the first place. But now you kind of get to reap the benefits from what he's doing. And obviously, it's elevated Cooper Kupp. I mean, who knows what numbers he could have been putting up if he wasn't with Goff beforehand. So, and it's impressive with no Robert Woods that they're still able to generate that kind of point total. Akers looks good except for the fumbles. That was pretty awful. And then when you think about the Bucks, and kind of talked about this last week, like without Godwin, I didn't think they were like a Super Bowl team because they were missing another element to that offense. So you had, playoff Lenny doing his thing. You had Evans doing their thing. But like when that wasn't there, Brady looked a little shaky there trying to throw to the other guys, and there was just no one stepping up. He did miss Scotty Miller quite a bit. He was open quite a bit towards the end of the game, but you just believe, it's happened so many times before during that game. You're just thinking, oh, this is just another Brady moment. But Antoine Winfield Jr. said, F you, Brady. Let's just go ahead and let Cooper Kupp run right by me. I didn't feel like playing in the NFC Championship this year. So, yeah, it was a great game, though. Well, end of the game. It was pretty rough throughout the game. That felt like the longest game ever.
It was an ass beating halfway through.
Yeah, I think the Rams, it's kind of, I'd say a little unprecedented, right? Because normally teams aren't put together like they are, where they're just going all in one year, right? Like I think the Eagles did that once, tried it once, the dream team, and yeah, it didn't work. So I think that's kind of what they're doing is actually pretty amazing. Like on paper, yeah, they're real good, but it's like on the field, it's translating too. We'll say I'm a little disappointed. I was kind of hoping like one of the possible Super Bowl matchups would have been Rams Bills, so I could see they asked Jalen Ramsey about his new opinion on Josh Allen. So
I don't know why I was just like in my head just wondering if Golden Tate was somehow on the Bills, because that would have just made the best matchup with Ramsey.
Oh yeah, I really did want to see though like a Brady Garoppolo NFC Championship. I thought that storyline would have been amazing.
Would have been just insufferable.
But he looks so handsome at his post-game interview.
So handsome. Man. But his balls might be the ugliest thing I've ever seen leave a quarterback's hand.
Oh my God. I think what's impressive what's most impressive from the Rams is they had 4 turnovers and still won this game. Akers needs to hold on to the damn ball. Like, he's another one I'm tied to in fantasy in multiple leagues. And oh my God, dude. Like, you got 24 rushes and you only had 48 yards. You had a lot of work you had a decent amount of work in receiving. But he's got to take care of that. And I don't know if it's just him being rusty because of the Achilles, and that's an insane turnaround for a running back. So hopefully this is not a lingering issue, or the Rams have an issue, or the Rams have a major problem, just because they can't run out the game.
And I think he had fumbling issues his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Let's not talk about that, Bert.
Yeah, so definitely needs to shore that up. But I mean, he looks good coming back from the Achilles. I mean, he runs strong, but I mean, it's just
he's got blast. Achilles injury.
Got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah. I think another thing speaking of running backs, I think it's really interesting, and it kind of speaks to Brady's uncomfortableness. In the game against the Eagles, he targeted 9 total receivers, and it was meticulous. He just spread the ball around. In this game, Leonard Fournette had 9 receptions, and I think, and as someone who, going back to fantasy again, had Leonard Fournette, he was more of a Derrick Henry type, where he's just gonna. It's what's the Remember the Titans, just over and over again, like Novocaine. Eventually, it'll work. I'm probably butchering that quote, but it's basically the same thing. But for him to have 9 receptions, I think speaks to the lack of receiving talent around Brady, and it's just why he struggled in the first half. And that segues perfectly into I don't see Brady retiring. I know that this has been one of the storylines throughout the game. I just don't see him retiring like that. I mean, he's too competitive. Like, if we've known anything for the past 22 years, and especially the last 2 in Tampa, where he's just become a completely different person outside of the shadow of the Patriots, he's too competitive. He had a quote that they talked about in the game where he wants to end on a Super Bowl, and that's the dream. Obviously, he had to muddle it up. Brady loves to not give a straight answer. But, I mean, I think him knowing that Godwin went down with an ACL, that Antonio Brown CTE flared up, and he just lost his mind. And just knowing that if we have these pieces around us, I think we can do this. We came within 2 Cooper Cup bombs from winning this game. And I don't see how he doesn't come back next week.
I do love Antonio Brown trolling them at the end. I mean, like, they went from like best friends to totally like F you. And I think that probably affected Brady too. I'm pretty sure he's sad about not having that crazy ass Antonio Brown as his best friend anymore. But yeah, him just trolling like the Bucks after it is just.
He's insane. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. So just to get on my little Antonio Brown tangent, the man is insane. So he only has his opportunity because of Brady. Then he trashes Brady. And then before the game, he posted on his Instagram, like LFG, Tom Brady, best wishes and luck for the game. And then immediately after the game, posts, I don't know if it was on his story or his Twitter or whatever, one of his social media outlets, of him running off the field, and then his photoshopped image of like the Bucks lose on the and I'm just like, what do you? I don't know if it's like him being around Madonna more in the past couple weeks has just like skewed his brain like it did to Rodman in the 90s, but the dude is off his rocker.
Yeah, and like for him, I know he's wanting to play with like the Ravens now, and it's just insane to me if someone gives him like another opportunity, like
it's not going to happen
blow up again. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, his podcast, I mean, he's entertaining. I'll give him that.
Wherever he goes, I want to see Juju sign on as well, so they can be a little duo again.
God, that's just I would actually love that just for the drama. There's no drama like AB drama. Just another note, like Nasty talked about earlier, with his win, the Rams secured home field advantage in the playoffs, not just in the conference. A little bit reminiscent of the Bucks from last year. Although they can't get fans into their arena, so I don't think it matters. I think one of their owners was actually offering to buy the tickets rather than for them to sell them to 49ers fans.
Yeah, so what he's doing is they're locking anyone that doesn't have an LA address from buying tickets. And then I think it was Andrew Whitworth's wife or Stafford's wife that's like, hey, if you're going to sell your tickets, I'll buy them. Don't sell them to Niners fan. Because, I mean, they had a complete takeover of SoFi in the last game of the year. So, like, basically no home field advantage. And it would be the same again. So they're trying everything to keep the Niners fan out, which is smart. I mean, the Niners fans will definitely overtake that stadium again if they can.
It's one of the best fan bases in the NFL. It just is. It's one of the franchise cornerstones. So I don't doubt that they will have. If possible, I think they could probably have a 75-25 Niners split. Like it was completely in the realm of possibility. Just a few other clip notes with this game, and then we'll move on to the Saturday games. Collinsworth and Al are insufferable. I can't deal with it. Like I put my TV on mute after Collinsworth basically dribbled down his leg from Brady getting a little blood on him. Like I get it. It was supposed to be a foul, probably what should have been flagged. But just to like get the close up of Brady and like him just not even doing anything, just his face and a little bit of blood trickling down. You're playing football. Like I get it. It's a physical game, but my God. And also another thing I thought was annoying was the picture-in-picture with Brady at the very end of the game was weird. Of just like him sitting on the sideline and like you have a little picture-in-picture from like the 90s when you had the old tube TVs of just like Brady sitting there in his classic pose. I didn't understand it at all, and it was insufferable. But that's just my thing, and I try not to impose that. I just can't deal with it. And for another my thing, I would really like Leftwich to be the Bears head coach. I think he would do great things with Justin Fields. We need an offensive coach, but I literally looked at the finalists, and I think Dan Quinn was one of them. And so it's nice to see the Bears just continuing on their downward spiral of a shit show that they are. But yeah, like I said, that's just a couple of things for me. You boys have anything else with this game, or we'll wrap it up?
No, I mean, Brady also lost on the Bitcoin front, so he's getting it just every which way. So for the first time probably ever, his life isn't perfect, but it's still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, welcome to the real world.
He's literally on the low end of the 1%. Oh, he's really suffering. Ike, you got anything you want to say for this game?
No, I think that's right. Those FTX commercials, he's probably raking it in the Uggs.
I think Brady is doing just fine. But yeah, moving on to the Saturday game. The late game was the 49ers in Green Bay. I have a few things just off top, and then I'm just going to turn. I think Ika and I have just mutually agreed to turn this entire podcast over to Nasty, just because he has some thoughts. For a cold weather team, I thought Green Bay looked very uncomfortable just playing. I don't know if that was the 49ers line, but they just did not look like it didn't feel like a Lambeau game, and I don't know what it was. I've never seen A-Rod do that. I think in 23 home playoff games, he's always put up over 21 points or it's some ridiculous stat like that. This is an aberration for him. Jimmy is the definition of a participation in the group project. I really wanted to kick him in the dick when he ran over to Robbie Gould, who I absolutely just love coming from the Bears, and just screamed, "Fuck the Packers." Bro, you did nothing. Like, literally, you hindered this team, if anything, from winning this game. Your defense and special teams won you this game, so just chill. 3 offensive points is embarrassing, speaking on that front. And then, yeah, so I'll just turn it over to Nasty. I want to talk about A-Raj's future destinations, possibilities, but I'll let Nasty have his moment here.
Yeah, so first off, Niners had no business winning this game. Like, if you look at the stat box, you look at everything, you just watch that entire game, they had no business winning that game. But yeah, I mean, like, opening drive, Rodgers marches right down the field. I mean, it's Devontae, which you knew was going to happen because the 49ers might have the worst secondary in all of football. I mean, they're ravaged by injuries, but still, I mean, like, they have no idea what they're doing back there, and you know that Devontae's going to get the ball. That's exactly what they did. They had a nice mix of run pass. Aaron Jones getting involved in the passing game. It looked like it was going to be a long night for the 49ers defense. You knew that it was going to be a rough night for the 49ers on offense that opening drive. One could not catch shit. And so Jimmy did not help his cause. But he did throw 2 actually pretty good balls, probably the best balls he's ever thrown. One to Kittle, which he dropped, and that would have been a touchdown on a post route. And then he threw another to Ayuk, who just like can't catch. So Ayuk is either he makes a fantastic catch or he can't catch shit. There's no in between with Ayuk. But I mean, they really looked affected by the cold. So that opening I don't know, 6 offensive drives were embarrassing. Shanny gets in this realm where he's like, I'm going to run the same running play over and over again and put my team in 3rd and long and think that Jimmy can get us a first down on like 3rd and 8. And if you watch Jimmy throw, it is like duck after duck. Like he makes terrible decisions. So how the 49ers are able to pull that out despite of like what Jimmy does is impressive. I think maybe if they had a good quarterback, they might suck because they might think, oh, we don't have to, play as good a defense. But yeah, with Jimmy, like every throw you think is going to get intercepted. Like it's just what he does. So yeah, he plays like shit that entire game. But Green Bay, that Mercedes Lewis fumble really like turned things around because Green Bay was about to go up 14-0. Like they weren't getting stopped. 49ers get the ball back, they punt. But then when Dillon went out with that injury, I think that was a big hit to Green Bay in the power run game because they could have definitely worn down that 49ers D. And then they just got away from throwing to Devontae. Like, just throw it to Devontae. Like, no one's going to cover him. I don't care if he's double covered. Like, no one's going to cover him. What helped big time, that blocked field goal right before half. When Jimmy had that terrible turnover, throw in an interception, looked like not another teen movie out there. Quarterback just throwing these like terrible throws, makes a poor decision, turns the ball over. Jimmy Ward, who gets beat in coverage by Aaron Jones, actually redeems himself, blocks that field goal, and you kind of felt the tide, shift a little bit there. Second half, the snow coming down really helped the 49ers. That slick field kind of slowed down the Green Bay passing game, and it really affected Rodgers. And so the defense didn't really have to do much in terms of having to worry about them like running by them and things along those lines because the field was just in terrible condition. And then you saw the 49ers pass rush kind of step it up there. And it looked like Rodgers was confused, but I think play calling was a big thing as well down there. But still, like if they just decided to kneel the ball and then punt, like this game, they still would have won the game. If they scored 7 points, the Niners were not putting up any points. Special teams won that game. Special teams and defense won that game. That block punt was freaking amazing. And then Hufunga, man, that guy's awesome. Returning it for a touchdown, because if they didn't return that for a touchdown, I can guarantee the 49ers are not punching that in the end zone. They are terrible in the red zone. They actually led the league in red zone scoring, but the last 4 games, I think they're almost last in red zone scoring. And so, the 49ers did everything on offense to lose that game. Jimmy is by far the worst quarterback left in the playoffs. And how they win.
It's not close.
Yeah, it's not even close. The throws that he would make across the body, across the field, just ducks. There are 3 or 4 that should have been pick sixes by the Packers defense. If the corner just had looked up, it was an easy pick six. So how they were able to pull that off with that tarred Jimmy just back there throwing ducks is really amazing. And then the one drive that they needed to kick the field goal, they wind up driving down the field. What blows my mind is the way that teams play the Niners, all they do are throw slants and crossing routes all game. There is no –
it's all Jimmy can throw.
Yeah, it's all slants, every time, just right down the middle. So it confuses me, how teams attack the 49ers offense, because that's all they're going to do. You don't have to worry about down the field throws. I just don't understand why they don't play the slants. Jimmy can't throw it outside the hashes, so he has to throw it down the middle of the field. But yeah, what a crazy ending. Are they the team of destiny? You look at how they're winning these games, and you kind of think maybe luck's on their side this year. But it's going to be tough to beat the Raiders.
Are you alluding to a Eli Manning?
I'm just saying. We saw Eli do it.
And he's got Down syndrome.
Yeah, and Jimmy's the same way in the pocket. So, that dude's not escaping any pass rush. But yeah, I think the Packers really blew this one. A-Rod really blew it. I think they got away from their game plan. It's funny that, A-Rod says that he was going to get revenge on the Niners for, not drafting him, which they should have drafted him over Alex Smith. I 100% agree with that. That man cannot beat them in the playoffs.
0-4.
Kaepernick, and he's probably lost to some of the worst quarterbacks. I mean, you lose to Colin Kaepernick. Now you lose to Jimmy twice. That's not good company to lose to when you're an MVP type, quarterback. So Green Bay should have never lost that game. Niners got real lucky. Robbie Gould, man, you think he's 20-20 now in the playoffs. So you're going to jinx him. He's got to miss eventually, but right now he's rocking it. Niners got super lucky, and that was the most anemic offense that you could possibly have and still win. But yeah, Green Bay special teams, like you got to fire your special teams coordinator tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
But so just for frame of reference, I'm a little bitter. I had a lot of parlays tied to Green Bay. I threw him in there on the money line just as obviously Aaron Rodgers is not going to lose this game. I called both the co-main and the main of the UFC, which Nasty will tell you, and Ika will tell you is something that never happens. So yeah, I'm a little bitter, and I don't hate Jimmy, but he pissed me off. Ika, you got anything on this game before I move into Aaron Rodgers' legacy now that Nasty is done fangirling?
Yeah. So I do just have two things, and then I'm actually going to have to hop off. But so kind of going along with like the play calling and like the team of destiny, it's like Deebo Samuel is their best running back. Like this, what is he? 5'10", 5'11", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
He's like the same size as Elijah Mitchell. And he is like keeping the offense afloat. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like if they had a quarterback like Stafford, like what would Deebo be doing? Right. So that was just one thought. And I mean, that kind of extends to the whole season, really. And he's been like the picture of health somehow. Yeah. So knock on wood. Yeah.
Knock on wood. He did come up limping. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, he takes a beating, man. That dude gets all the work returning kicks. He's the best running back.
Touched the ball 40 times or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
he's just tearing people over. Like he's angry when he runs. Like it's amazing what he's doing. One, he's got himself a nice payday coming in the offseason with what he's doing out there. But to have a wide receiver who's never played running back ever. Like he didn't play it in college. Never played running back ever. To take over and be by far the best running back on the team, like the run to get them basically to end the game was crazy. And it's coming. Like the defense knows it's coming, and yet he's able to find those lanes and just run over people. Like he is a nasty runner.
It's like you see him lining up in the backfield. You kind of know what's coming, right? Like nobody else is getting the ball.
Let Jimmy throw it.
Yeah.
So another thing that I know we kind of messaged about was like, man, this would have been like the time to let Trey Lance go, right? Like cold weather, you have a guy that's spent 3 years, North Dakota State, like, and he can run. He's got the arm strength. Like this game should have been like his coming out party, really. Like this could have been like a Kaepernick-like game for him. So I was actually shocked that, he didn't get on the field at all. Like,
yeah, it blows my mind how like Shanny refuses to play Lance when Jimmy can only lose you games. He is not winning you games at all. Nothing he's doing is winning you games. He is actually trying to lose games for you. Trey Lance can't do worse. Like he literally cannot do worse. And what he does is open up the downfield passing, and with his legs adds another element to the offense to where you can actually throw. Like if the Niners get down, it's tough for them to come back unless that running game is really going. So Deebo's got to be on. I mean, everyone has to be like so on point to overcome I don't know what goes through Jimmy's head most of the time, but ever since he banged that porn star, it's just been downhill from there. Like he makes terrible decisions. And if you watch the balls that he throws, like I don't know if he can throw it 20 yards. I honestly don't.
I don't either. Ika, before you go, 2 quick things just off the top of the dome. Where does Aaron Rodgers play next year?
Green Bay.
Where does Devontae Adams play next year?
Green Bay. I think they're both coming back.
But they both posted on their Instagram stories the last dance before the season on July 24th.
Yeah. They're both coming back.
It's gonna be hard to keep them both, but I would lean that way. Especially with the NFL, I would lean towards the hometown getting them. But Devontae's gonna want 25 a year, and Aaron's dead cap hit is crazy.
Yeah, they kind of fucked up by giving Aaron Jones the extension they gave him. They should have just let him walk.
Dylan is a better fit. Like Dylan can do some dirty work. Now Aaron Jones is great as a receiving back, but to spend that kind of money on a running back, I think everyone shows like it's not smart.
No.
All right, bud. Well, if you got to hop off, we'll see you next week. Thank you for gracing our screens with just that stringer. We very much appreciate it.
No shirt next week. Yeah.
No, the dream.
I'm rocking no pants, so I got to step my game up.
Ooh. Turn it into an NFT.
Yeah. Worth $75K.
Okay, Logan. Ginger Logan Paul over there.
Yeah, that's what we need to start doing. Maybe Logan Paul will buy my NFTs.
Okay. All right, Joe. Okay, Joe.
Hi, bud.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.
All right, guys. Micah has a family. He's got like 19 kids running around, so we're going to grant him a little bit of clemency when it comes to leaving the podcast. But trust me and Nasty are more than enough for both of you, and that's not even including me. That's just including Nasty.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing that comes from this game is the question I asked Ika. I don't even want to talk about Aaron's legacy or just the absolute just destruction of him on Twitter and just meme central. It's one of the great spectacles I've seen. Nasty, where does he play next year?
Green Bay feels like the right answer. I would like to see him away from Green Bay because I don't think they put the talent around him. Like, I mean, he's still balling out at his age. I mean, he could play another, 3 years high level, quarterback play if he wants to. Now, he would definitely be a guy who would retire just out of the blue. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised if he retired. Yeah, just out of spite. And he's just like, F this. I'm done with the politics of it. Like, I hate the media. He's definitely a guy who could walk away like at any time. I mean, he's accomplished what he's wanted to accomplish. He's multiple MVPs, Super Bowl champion. So, I mean, he has the resume. But I definitely would like to see him outside of Green Bay with some talent around him. I know Denver would go hard at him, but I don't like him in that situation.
What talent?
Oh, yeah, no. I definitely don't like him in that situation. So, I think Denver would be a spot that would go hard at him. But you look at the places that would be contenders with them, and you got to think like all the contenders have like really good quarterbacks already, like young quarterbacks.
So I made a list.
Yeah.
So I made a little bit of a list. This is just like my top 4 destinations. Well, top 3 and then one dark horse that I think is a very, very interesting. Number 1, just by personal bias again, fantasy runs my life. The Steelers. I would love to see him with Najee. I would love to see him with Chase Claypool. I think Claypool is maybe not as talented as Jamar Chase or these other rookies, but I think he might be 85 to 90% as talented as them. The only issue is that offensive line. It's atrocious. They'd have to. He has a year left on his contract, so they have to deal for him, and it's going to cost you at least a first, and you have to basically draft a lineman. They have a nasty defense. JJ Watt is just a god on the defensive side. Not JJ.
TJ.
TJ. Why would your parents do that? It's just obnoxious. So that's my number one. But like I said, that's for personal reasons. I think the Saints make a lot of sense. Saints have cap issues. I think they might be in cap hell, but I think that would be disgusting. With hopefully Michael Thomas coming back next year, Alvin Kamara would probably be the best running back he's ever played with. And the Saints just have a good core. They have a good defense. They have good weapons that aren't top tier, but they're not bottom tier. But like I said, they have cap issues. And then obviously Denver is in the mix because that was one of the ones you said. I don't think it's a good decision. I don't think Sutton is talented enough. I don't think Judy is either. Fant is incredible. I think he's very good, but a tight end isn't going to win you a Super Bowl. I think my two dark horses, now that I'm looking at this list, I think the dark horse is the Titans. I really like that because Tannehill is not the dude. I think we said it earlier. 3 picks in that. No, it's the next game. He's just not. It's the next game. I apologize, but it's just AJ Brown is incredible. Julio on the other side, he's a shell of himself, but he can. I think with Aaron Rodgers, you can see a little bit of a resurgence. Obviously, not to his first team All Pro level, but definitely onto a level that's high. And then just King Henry in the backfield, and then they're also their other running back who is very good. I think that's a good one. Yeah, he looked very good. I think that's a really good team. I think they would do really good things. I think that's an immediate Super Bowl contender. And just for you, the 49ers.
Oh, I mean, that would be a dream come true, but he's definitely not going. I don't think he gets traded within the NFC. I think that would be the one stipulation. One, the Packers owner, or not owner, but like CEO, is probably just as spiteful. Yeah, just as spiteful as Aaron Rodgers is. So it's more like a dick measuring contest, like, oh, I'm going to hold you hostage type thing. Because honestly, they should have traded him this year. It's kind of how they've treated him, and then drafting Love, and it's just like a big FU. Hey, we're not going to give you a talent at receiver. We don't really care about your opinion. I mean, all that stuff is abnormal to do when you have a star player. Like, no one does that to Brady, right? And I put Rodgers on the same, not like in the same, class as Brady in terms of like Super Bowl, but in terms of like talent as a quarterback, he's got to have the same pull as like what Brady has in an organization. I mean, you saw what Brady brought, went to the Bucs. He's like, hey, I want these guys. I want Gronk. I want AB. I want to bring these guys in. And the Bucs were like, yeah, we're going to do whatever to get you the talent that you need. Green Bay hasn't done that. And yeah, Rodgers didn't do his part in the playoff game in terms of like stepping up. But I mean, it's hard in those conditions, number one. And then they just kind of got away from the game plan that I thought, was working at the beginning of it. So A-Rod, I think, deserves to go outside of Green Bay. I would like to see him play for another team because I think he could get another ring. I just don't think he can get another ring in Green Bay.
I don't either.
Yeah, Nashville, come to the Titans. That is the best fit for him. Like, if he wanted to pick a destination, you have the talent there. Like, you have the number one receiver there. Julio,
he's a good number two.
Yeah, if he can get over his hamstring stuff, which might be impossible because that dude is out all the time. It's amazing. You have the pieces there in the AFC where you can really compete for a championship. I mean, can you get past Mahomes? Can anyone get past Mahomes? That's the real question. But I mean, at least one, you're in a situation where you can definitely win your division very easily, and you can make things run through Nashville, and you don't have to worry about it being, snowy and can't throw the ball, iced over, come playoff time.
Yep, I agree. I don't know how much they're gonna care about the conference, just because, like, looking at that division, like, what you have in Jordan Love, like, and I think you have to look at the rest of the division and be like, all right, the Bears are building, the Lions are building, and then God knows what the Vikings are doing. So you might, it's not a good sell, but you might be able to just take a couple of years off and rebuild, and then hopefully draft a quarterback in one of the better drafts. But I don't know, and it's one of those things.
Now's the time to move him because you're going to get the draft capital that you want versus like him either retiring or his contract ending, and like he'll retire if you franchise tag him. So like you might as well go ahead and start now because honestly, you're probably not winning a Super Bowl with that roster.
No. I'll just do the quick hitter. Where's Devontae play?
Man, I think the Bears make sense because they would open up the pocketbook for him if they can get. I mean, they franchised, Robinson, and he's obviously not the guy. So they probably are not going to re-sign him. So if they're going to have some cap space and going in the division, it makes sense that he goes to Chicago. I think if Aaron plays, he goes wherever Aaron goes. I think they are a package deal if they decide to bail, wherever that might be. But yeah, Devontae, I mean, he's going to be a hot commodity if if he doesn't get franchise tagged, which he probably will. Some team is going to really get a stud at receiver and kind of change their fortune. This isn't like a Julio where he's on the backside of his career. Like you're getting DA-17 prime. And we see how much DeAndre Hopkins means to the Cardinals franchise and like what happens to him when he's not in the lineup. He will have the same effect, just a little bit better. So it has to be to a contender. Who it's going to be, it's tough. Someone's got to have cap room. It's probably an AFC team that goes out and spends the money for him. The Broncos would definitely do it. I mean, Elway has shown that, hey, if I get the right guy, I'll spend the money on whatever's necessary.
I think that's the only way. I think that's the only way he goes to Denver, and then I really do like that roster.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It would be nice to see DA-17 outside of Green Bay as well.
I agree. I'm not. I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
That franchise. That franchise tag is by far one of the most powerful tools that is collectively bargained in the side of the owners. I don't understand it. I don't understand how the NFLPA allowed it to happen. Obviously, there's probably a lot of stuff that I'm not privy to, but it hamstrings free agency so much. It's crazy.
The one team that should spend all the money in the world to get him is the Philadelphia Eagles. That wide receiving core is garbage. So
I like Devontae a lot.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like Devontae, which I think Devontae is more of a number 2 than he is a true number 1 and needs help. But that entire receiving core is garbage outside of Devontae. But they also need a quarterback. So it'd be interesting. I think Philly would open up the bank, and it's up to DAs. Like, do I go to a contender or do I take that payday? So for some guys, it's hard to pass up that big money.
I don't want him on the Bears. I love DA. I love him so much, but I don't want him on the Bears. It's a black pit for receivers. A-Rob is super talented, but he hasn't been able to do anything in 3 years now, I think. And as much as I love the Bears, I
don't really see him going there with Justin Fields. I think he would want a little bit better of a quarterback. So this early in Justin Fields' career, I think he would shy away from the Bears. I definitely think the Bears are going to offer and they could for him. It's just it's going to be up to the Devontae and kind of like where he's feeling like, do I want to go to a contender or do I want that money? So it kind of depends.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, I think that wraps up the 49ers Green Bay love fest and moves us into by far, I think, the most boring game of the weekend. The first one.
Yeah, and probably the easiest betting. Like,
right off the bat.
When that matchup came out, I was like, Bengals money line all day.
Yeah. But yeah, the Bengals Titans. I think I said it a little bit earlier. Ryan Tannehill is just not. He had one good year, and I don't think it was the Gase thing. I just don't think he is the clutch performer. I don't want to see any more blind reveals on these ESPNs and Foxes of like, oh, these are his numbers against Patrick Mahomes. Look, they're not that different. I don't care. I don't trust him in any situation. He had 3 picks. He's not the one. You know who is? Joe Shiesty.
Yeah.
Joey fucking Burrow. I am biased. I love this man. I've loved this man since LSU, since he walked through smoking that cigar after he just the greatest in a college team I think ever. He's been our background in our group chat in WhatsApp for 3 years now. I know 2 years now. I think he's on maybe a slight step under Allen and Mahomes at the moment, but I think he has all the ability to get there. If his freaking, and I'm trying not to cuss, if his offensive line can give him more than 1.3 seconds to get the ball out. 9 sacks is embarrassing. As an offensive line, it's embarrassment. And it wasn't even 9. I think they had 2. It was 11 because he got destroyed on 2 other plays that got called back on some stuff. I just don't remember exactly what. Maybe penalties. The Bengals should literally take the 2021 draft and just draft offensive linemen. Literally. I don't know. I think they have like 6 or 7 picks. I would take 7 offensive linemen. I don't care. If they can let plays develop for more than a second and a half, Jamar Chase, who might be the shiftiest receiver in the league, he's not the fastest. Obviously, Tyreek is incredible. But I just remember, I think it was an out route. I can't remember exactly what it was. But he turned on a dime and made 2 Titans defenders tackle each other and then went on for like 15 more yards. He is so quick, that fast twitch, like that McGregor shit, like that. I love Jamar. He's great. And it pisses me off to this day that I don't have him in any league, especially dynasty format, because he couldn't catch in the preseason. Insane. They have to get offensive linemen. They just have to.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see. So the Bengals have been a nice story this year in terms of like, a new team, new up and coming team. You got the young talent in Burrow. You have the Chase connection. Like they're a fun team to watch when they're rolling. But I think we're going to see not even a very close AFC Championship game. One, that defense isn't going to stop Patrick Mahomes at all. And then you got to turn around and be like, well, can that offense match them point for point? And there's no way. I mean, it's not a Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills type offense. I think it can get there eventually. I mean, they're still young. I think Burrow is definitely going to be one of those top 3 quarterbacks that you're in the discussion for in the next couple of years, like taking over the NFL. What are the top 3 guys? I think Burrow is always going to be in that discussion. Pretty impressive what he's – yeah. Pretty impressive what he's done coming off of the ACL tear and coming back what he does. But yeah, that moxie is kind of like what you look for in a quarterback. Like that dude's just so cool. Like he just has that swag. And you can see the team like kind of rally around him. Like post game, he just has that swag. He has that confidence, that unwavering confidence that it's hard to find in a QB. But man, he backs it up. Like he is the dude there. So Cincy, which has just been a crappy franchise for so long, and they're cheap. I mean, they got they got some pieces in place. Like they can be contenders.
Don't have an indoor practice facility, as Pat McAfee loves to point out every segment they're ever brought up in.
Yeah, they refuse to spend any money. So however they can do the cheapest way, they don't care about wins and losses like the owner doesn't. He's like, bottom line, how much money is this going to make me type thing. But I mean, they have like Chase, what he's done from his like preseason where he couldn't catch a ball to now he's like unstoppable. Burrow, I mean, they have the talent at wide receiver. I mean, T. Higgins even, and Tyler Boyd. I mean, and Uzama has kind of been like an unsung hero there, making big plays at tight end. So yeah, their offensive line is trash, and it'll show up against the Chiefs. Chiefs have a pretty good pass rush. Frank Clark, whenever he feels like playing, like he can get on a roll and wreak some havoc there. So, and then you got Joe Mixon, who sometimes shows up and sometimes is like looks like the worst running back ever out there.
I don't want to talk about Joe Mixon because I still think he's a turd. But that's strictly fantasy. He actually played pretty well.
Like stats wise this year. But yeah, I just don't see. I think the Bengals like Cinderella story ends abruptly in KC. I don't think it's a close game at all. But I mean, I do think you see the up and coming Bengals team. I think this is a perennial playoff team going forward. Now it's just building some of that defense and then protecting Joe Burrow. Like, he's not shifty like Mahomes and Allen, and he's not built like Mahomes and Allen. Like, he can get hurt. He's grown up Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. So
I think he's more cerebral. Like,
yeah.
I kind of compare him to Brady. Not obviously not in like any accolades or any Super Bowl, but like I feel like it's a Brady Manning. Like I feel like they were talking a little bit about it during the game. He can just go up to a line. He's switching plays. He's just dissecting defenses. I think that's where he's going to land. He's not going to have your 10 rushes for 69 yards games. He can run. He can. He's athletic, but I don't think it's going to happen like that.
Yeah, he's definitely that throwback old school quarterback where like, hey, I may not have the strongest arm. I don't have like the athleticism that all these guys nowadays have at the quarterback position. But what I do know is like how to read a defense, how to get the ball out in time, how to find these windows, and get it to the playmakers. Yeah, so a very throwback type quarterback, your prototypical guy.
I agree.
Yeah, and so Burrow's that dude. Like he just has that swag. It's hard to find a quarterback with that swag, and he's got it.
Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr. I think I'm going to keep it real quick on the Titans because they did not look good, and I think you can always trust Southern teams to do this until this year. Apparently, with Georgia teams being just gods. Henry looks slow. 20 rushes for 62 yards. I don't know if it's just the coming back from injury. He had a plate in his foot. Hopefully, with an offseason, he can get back to King Henry. His offensive load is concerning. It was concerning this year. We'll see going forward. But in lieu of that, Foreman looked really explosive. He looked like a really good number 2 back. Not the who was the other back they had before he became the workhorse? Was it White?
You talking about the 1-2 punch of CJ or 2K and James White?
Yeah, James White.
Or Lindell White? James White? Or no, I think it was Lindell White. Way back in the day. But
Foreman looked really explosive and he look really good. He can I'll be interested. Definitely keep an eye on him moving forward. I think the Titans are a good team, but they're game scripty. Vrabel, and I also love Vrabel as a coach, but I don't trust them if they get down or if stuff doesn't go the way that they script it. Kind of like the early Dak years when Zeke didn't get like 30 touches in the game they lost. I just don't. I don't trust them, but that's just my thoughts on the Titans.
The Titans were the worst number 1 seed in a long time. They did not look good throughout the year, and kudos to them for actually winning as many games as they did with how injured they were. I mean, you go out, you get Julio, he doesn't play ever. King Henry, which is like 80% of your offense goes down, and you're still able to get the 1 seed. I mean, that from that standpoint, impressive. But when it came to playoff time, like I don't think anyone was really confident in the Titans. Like you're not scared of Tannehill. You're not scared of Henry, like coming back. Like he looked slow. I think they rushed him back too much. I think they would have been better off just keeping Deontay Foreman in there and letting him do his thing. I think that would have changed the game a lot because there's like a 4th down or a 3rd down, like where Henry, like it's stuck and like he just barely is moving.
That never happens.
No, yeah. And so I think you rush Henry back. And I think that was a big mental maybe gain for like the Titans knowing that Henry's back, but you should have saw first half like, ooh, Deontay's looking a lot better. Yeah, we have, King Henry here, but maybe it's time to pull back his workload.
What's crazy is it's evident in the numbers, just with the rushing. Donta Foreman had 4 carries for 66 yards. Derrick Henry had 20 carries for 62 yards. Yeah. So at a certain point, but anyways.
Put way too much on Henry there, and I don't think
way too much on Henry.
Yeah, and Deontay was looking good in terms of like his explosiveness. But yeah, Tannehill is not the guy.
Nope.
I think he's a really good bridge quarterback. So like you need a veteran quarterback to kind of bridge to a rookie. But in terms of like, is he the guy to win you a Super Bowl? No, I don't think he'll ever be that guy.
Do you want a 49ers comparison?
Yeah.
Do you know it?
I would assume this is Alex Smith.
Yep, he reminds me almost exactly of Alex Smith.
Yeah, and Alex Smith isn't going to win you games. At times he looks good, but he's very much a game manager. However, when you throw 3 interceptions, you're no longer a game manager, and you lose yourself. You lose the team the game. So, yeah, I think what we saw, we're not going to see a good of a game as we saw Bills Chiefs. I think we're going to see the Chiefs just run a train on the Bengals. But it'll be fun to see Chase and Burrow and kind of see, if they can keep up. But good to see a different team just kind of in the mix.
I agree. The only other thing I want to talk about from this game is I talked about it a little bit in the introductions. Is McPherson has just he has Sam Cassell balls, just the dancing up and down the court. Gator Boy. ESPN has been showing not ESPN. I think the Gators showed it on their TikTok, and then ESPN reposted it. He kicked it from the ground. They taped a Gatorade bottle to one of the rafters, and then he kicked the cap off of it from 40 yards and lower. It's insane. He matches. I think literally I'll just read what I put in my notes. Kickers rarely have swagger. I think McAfee is one of the all-times for this. McPherson is that dude. And just the balls on him and I know it's been said 100 times, but the story of him looking at Joe Burrow, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game is just chef's kiss.
Kickers don't have that confidence. And then he backs it up. He was basically MVP of that game. Drilling these things, no doubt about it, going through. So it's impressive for a rookie to be in that situation and it not even faze him. I don't just ice running through the veins. I don't think he was nervous at all.
Nope.
And that's what you want as a kicker. So in big games, let's say, Chiefs and Bengals come down to the wire. Who'd you rather have, McPherson or Butker? Probably taking, McPherson, even though Butker has a leg too. You feel confident, trotting him out there.
Okay, so moving into the conference championship round, we've alluded to a little bit of this, but we'll start the AFC, the game we've been talking about, Bengals and Chiefs. Opening lines, Chiefs -7 at the moment. Let me double check and see if it's moved at all, because it really wouldn't surprise me if it has. Yeah, it's still -7. Bengals money line has moved a little bit from when I put it in here. It's now +270 on FanDuel, with the Chiefs at -335 with an an over-under of 30. Wow, I can't talk.
50.
With an 54.5.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first time in recent memory that we've had examples of these games within the month, both of them. The Bengals actually beat the Chiefs. Granted, it was on one of the most ridiculous performances I've ever seen from a receiver. Some Randy Moss level shit. I think Jamar Chase had more receiving yards in that game than Patrick Mahomes had passing yards. I don't think it's repeatable. I'd love to see it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think this game is, the Chiefs are on their whole different team. They had this where they're just kind of in a rut, but over the last couple of weeks of the season into the playoffs, they're the Chiefs of back in before the Bucs railed them in the Super Bowl. So they found their swagger, and I think they're just completely they're a juggernaut right now. Mahomes is playing like he used to. That whole team is just clicking on all cylinders. So, I think that game that they played, I think Chase can probably put up the same numbers receiving wise, because the Chiefs defense isn't all that great. We saw what Gabriel Davis was able to do against them. And so I think those numbers are repeatable, but what I don't think is repeatable is I don't think the Bengals have the defense to slow down the Chiefs. So the big matchup is, can the Bengals slow down the Chiefs at all? Can the Bengals defense slow down the Chiefs at all? And can Cincy's offensive line protect Burrow enough to where they can keep up?
I don't think so. I mean, as much as I'd love to see it, I just don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, the offensive line, I don't think it's going to hold up just because based on what they showed in the last game, that was, like I said, it was embarrassing. These are like, and I don't mean to like obviously call out grown ass men who would beat the living hell out of me if they ever saw me, but and they're professional athletes and they're the 1% of the 1%, but that was bad. And
the Titans don't have like the greatest pass rush in the world either.
No, but the thing is that pass rush got pressure on Allen. The only thing is that Allen is just a ridiculous athlete and got away from it. I can't imagine what they're going to be able to do to a more stationary target. And part of me really just wants if Burrow can't make this just a ridiculous shootout, for him just to get out of the game without injuring himself. I'll be 100% honest. But the Chiefs look incredible, and I don't think there's anything else. We talked about it ad nauseum. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this game?
No, I think this really just boils down to can Cincy slow them down at all? I don't really see that they have the defensive ability to do that, and they definitely like Hubbard's a good, when it comes to their pass rush, but it was a little anemic against the Titans. So I don't think with the mobility of Mahomes and that revamped offensive line that they really get much pressure. If you don't get pressure on Mahomes, Tyreek is just going to blaze them. Same with Kelsey. Like I don't think they have the ability to really stop them. So it comes down to can the offense match what the Chiefs are doing, and I don't think they have the firepower. I mean, like they're a young team and they're going to be fun to watch in the future. I just think it's probably a couple of years too early.
Yep, I agree. For the NFC, your favorite game of the week, the 49ers at the Rams. The opening line is Rams 3.5 with the money line. Nope, it moved down to 3. So it's 3 now. The money line is San Fran plus 146. I don't understand where they get these algorithms to figure this out, these random numbers, but whatever. Money line for the Rams is minus 173. I feel it should be higher, but that's just me. Over-under is 46.5. Again, this shouldn't be close. In all reality, it shouldn't be close. But the last game shouldn't have been close. The 49ers just pulling crap out of their butt. It's just the truth. My main concern is how hurt is Debo, if he is hurt, because that's if he's not 100%, if he's 75%, if he's 80%, you have a massive issue. Because Jimmy is just a liability. And we talked about it. I don't want to keep shitting on Jimmy G. The man gets porn stars. I don't. But at the same time, it's just he's a liability. Matt Stafford is finally getting that opportunity we talked about. OBJ and Kupp and Higbee should cook. They should just go all over the 49ers. Bosa's a monster. I've just been watching him all alone on defense, and it is impressive to watch. I don't see how they win this, but then again, they shut a superior quarterback down last week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this game will come down to can Jimmy not lose it. So the big matchups in this game is how well can you contain Kupp, which they did in the first half of the first game, even though they were down 17 like nothing. But the second half, he wound up kind of taking over there. So can D'Amico Ryans formulate a game plan to really shield the secondary? So it's going to be, can the 49ers front four get to Stafford? Because they don't ever blitz. It's very rare when they blitz. So they really rely on.
If you blitz, you leave your cornerbacks one-on-one, and I don't want that of the 49ers.
No. And so, can the front four get to Stafford? That's going to be number one for them. That's the matchup to look at. Can Bosa, generate that pressure? Armstead has been playing well. And even Ebukam. They have some, guys that are just kind of stepping up. Reed has been really good on the D-line for them. So for them, it's going to be, hey, can we stop Kupp by getting our front four to Stafford? On the other side is going to be, for the Rams, can they stop the Niners running attack? If you stop the Niners running attack, you take that away, and then it's just literally Jimmy trying to throw slants. He stares down targets. He's only going to throw down the middle of the field. if you can get him to throw outside the numbers, it's very likely it's an interceptable ball. So he is he just stares down the center of the field. That's where he wants to go. So for the Rams, can you come up with a defensive game plan that stops the slants and stops Debo from kind of running on you? So Shanny has kind of owned his like proteges, you could say, the McVay and LaFleur tree, the old Redskins kind of staff there. He's owned McVay.
Hey.
Oh yeah, I can't say.
You can't say that.
Canceled. So he's owned McVay and he's owned LaFleur in the playoffs. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the same year, and I think trying to game plan for that, it's going to be rough. Bias in me, I'm like, yeah, I think the 49ers can win. Don't get me wrong. I think they had a better matchup with the Bucs, but it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. My pick would probably be, Rams Chiefs Super Bowl.
That's where most of the money is.
Yeah, just because I think Stafford, he can win you games, and Jimmy can lose you games. So it's going to come down to how well the 49ers run game. If they can control the clock and that pass rush is, getting to Stafford, then yeah, I think, they win. But a lot of things have to go right for Jimmy not to blow. He almost blew the Rams game to begin with and then had that, awesome drive at the end. But he got them in the situation where they could have lost. Same in Dallas, where he let Dallas come back. And then same in Green Bay, where he literally couldn't do anything. And threw a lot of balls that should have been pick sixes. So if Jimmy can just have an average game, they have a chance. But his turnovers are getting out of control.
They're bad. But yeah, I'm not going to keep harping on it. I really don't hate the 49ers, especially since we met. I actually root for the 49ers, but just Jimmy just pisses me off as a quarterback. He should not be in this position, and I would love to see Lance. I don't think they could have won that game, but I would have much rather seen Lance. But yeah, like I said, I'm not going to talk any more about that unless there's anything you want to throw on the end of this. That'll pretty much wrap up the news.
No, I think we kind of hit everything in terms of the wrap up and the games. Like I said, I think the NFC Championship is going to be a much better game than the AFC Championship.
Oh, no doubt.
You just kind of have that sense after that really good divisional round that you're not going to get that's usually how it kind of works in the playoffs. You have a really good, divisional round or wild card round, followed up by some trash, championship games, and it's really blowouts. And I think these have the ability to both be kind of blowouts.
I agree. So moving on to fantasy. It's just a segment devoted to fantasy. We hit it at a really weird time of the year. We're not going to do this part of the pod all that much. I think during the important parts, like when the draft comes around, we'll definitely talk about dynasty implications and running down the exciting rookies that are coming up. But I wanted to just do a quick goodbye to 2021. It treated me pretty well. I won our dynasty league. I had to throw that in there. My team is absolutely ridiculous. Although I don't like the idea of losing both of my quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, at the same retirement, if that goes that way. But I kind of put myself in that situation. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it here unless there's anything that Nasty wants to throw into fantasy.
No, so this is kind of our first year of doing Dynasty. Always been redraft, so our focus has always been redraft. So Dynasty is a whole different ball game in terms of strategy, and we kind of got an abrupt awakening to that this year. But yeah, we'll talk more on the Dynasty realm because we kind of are shifting our focus more towards the Dynasty leagues versus the redraft. I think this year just says don't draft C-Mac because he's a piece of shit. So.
Hey, I love C-Mac. He won me a championship. But yeah, it's rough. And if you're going to draft him, you have to take Hubbard. There's no other choice. But yeah, I agree. I feel a little bit bad because I definitely took advantage of Ika. I think unknowingly in the before pre-draft for Dynasty, pre-startup draft.
He got hot on draft picks for some reason.
he got real
really
hot.
Understand like what that meant going forward.
And in my defense here, I didn't exactly understand it either, but I definitely took advantage of him. I ended up with a generational tight end, and then I think another pick later in the draft, which ended up just setting me up very nicely. I think I had 3 picks in the first 14 picks.
Yeah.
So I was able to grab Najee, Jetty Jefferson, and then Kyle Pitts. So I have a good core for years.
That's big in Dynasty because you can't really replenish your roster. It's not like redraft where it's like, oh, well, you know, if my picks didn't hit, then there's next year and I can just replenish, or like injuries happen. Man, in Dynasty, if you didn't have, like for Ika, like his is like a 5-year plan now where he traded all his draft picks in that first like inaugural draft for like rookie picks and traded back a lot. Well, you kind of screwed yourself if you're not able to get that young talent early on.
Yep. And I have 1 pick. I do have 1 pick. No, I have 2 picks.
No,
I'm probably going to
trade 2 second rounders.
I'm going to trade the second one because I only wanted one of those for a specific player for next year. But yeah, so that'll just wrap up fantasy. We'll bring it back up as it keeps on coming in, as more hot topics come up. And so that transitions us into our next segment, my personal favorite, Behind the Line. So this is where I thrive. This is NBA stuff. And Nasty definitely skews to the NFL. I mean, he played football for quite a number of years. And I definitely skewed towards the NBA. I love the NBA with everything in my being. It's it's by far just one of the most fun leagues I think I've ever seen. I love all the different storylines that come with it. I also love the looser free agency. One thing that I think that you as listeners will tend to understand is that Nasty and I have a bit of a track record with LeBron. I am
you're open bronsexual.
I am. I like to think that I'm at least objective about him. I don't think he's the GOAT. It's Jordan. There's no debate. I don't think there is. I think that Braun is by far the most talented player of all time, but Jordan is by far the greatest. It's not a debate. But we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I do love LeBron, and Nasty hates him. And it's completely unfair. We went really, really long with our news and notes, and I think it was warranted based on how just bonkers crazy that divisional round was. So I think I'm going to be honest and hold off on Behind the Lines, and then we'll talk more next week about it, because I believe that all-star teams get dropped, and I think that'll be an awesome topic to really start off Behind the Lines with.
Which is the voting aspect, which is total bullshit. But yeah, we'll go down that line next week.
So I have it pulled up. We'll talk. Give me 2 minutes because it is complete and total bullshit. Kyrie Irving is 6th in voting on guards. Derrick Rose is 8th. Let me look. Damian Lillard is 9th in guards. He has by far had his worst. I love Dame. But he has by far had his worst season, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. No, he might be out for the season, actually. I think 6 to 8 weeks was KD. That he might be out for the season. Let me see. At least they get Rudy Gobert right as being 9th. Wiggins is 3rd in the front court. Let me see what else. And I think these are the final fan, and it only counts. This obviously only counts for 50% of the total vote, and then the players get 25, and then the media gets 25. So at least it balances out. But so I'll just look at it right now. So they do 3 front court, 2 guards, I believe. I don't know how technical they are about it. So for the Western Conference, I think James, Jokic, and Curry are auto locks for starters. And I think Ja would be the other person I put in there. He is bonkers. I know you know this as a Memphis boy. but he's playing his ass off. And
Memphis couldn't have been more lucky to get the second pick in that and not let the lottery fall, because Zion would have been the number one pick for whoever.
anyone.
Yeah, Grizzlies would have went with Zion over Ja. But that dude is eating himself out of the NBA.
We can talk about Zion also at a later date. I have some very strong feelings about Zion, not because I don't like him, but I don't like how the media covers him.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's another thing we'll deal with. But I think for the fifth slot for the West, I might have to go Cat. And that's weird to say. Or if I'd either go Cat, or if they had if it's not like two guards, three front court, I would probably go Luka. But Luka also loves to eat things and came in pretty heavy. Also, just looking over this, I missed over a couple other arbitrations. Russell Westbrook is sixth in voting on the guards. I'm pretty sure he's shooting in the single digits and also shooting 58% on dunks.
It's impressive how bad he has been this year.
It's awful. Carmelo is seventh in the front court. Yeah, so these are ridiculous.
I can talk about Westbrook all day with his attitude. Like, nothing is his. Like, it's not his fault.
Oh my God!
Like, man, when you're shooting that bad, you got to own up to it. But he's like, nah, F you, media. This isn't. Yeah. You guys don't know basketball.
So don't get me started on the Lakers. That will be a future segment where we can both talk about Russ, because I've always liked Russ, but we have very strong feelings. So for the Eastern Conference, KD, Giannis, Joel are auto locks. KD won't be starting, so they'll have to fill it in, but just for these purposes. I think you have to have one of the Chicago boys. You have to have DeMar or Levine. I'd go DeMar just because of what he's meant to that team, even though I think Levine is a better player. And then as much as I'd like to see Jimmy, I think you have to go Trae Young, and that hurts me because I really think Trae Young's game is not something you can win with. And I think last year was an aberration based on injuries.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they ever reached the finals again.
No, I don't think they reached the conference finals again.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I think those are just my real quick picks for I'll start voting. I guess hopefully next week they come out. I'll have to look up when the actual things come out, and then we could revisit that. But that'll pretty much close it up, unless you want to just talk about how fucking amazing Memphis has been and how deep they are as a team.
Yeah, so Memphis has kind of come back to that like grind. I mean,
grit and grind, baby.
Like, yeah, grit and grind. And Ja has kind of like led the way. Like he has the pulse of Memphis. So like he is just a Memphis boy. He personifies what that city's all about. Like he is the perfect player for Memphis. Mm-hmm. What he's able to do, like from an athletic standpoint, his game is definitely transformed this year. So it's pretty impressive to see his growth over the past couple of years. Like he was not a shooter at all. He was just a drive, get to the bucket type player. But man, he's helped himself a lot in the jump shot department this year. And he's just electric. Like he brings that energy with Memphis. And then you have Bane. What they were kind of lacking was a shooter, and Bane has really filled in that role as like that 3-point shooter. It's something Memphis has for a very long time. And then, even like, Adams kind of being down, getting the boards. Is he Valanciunas? No, I think Valanciunas was definitely a better fit for Memphis, but he's doing his role, what they kind of asked him to do. I would have liked to see them go a different way in the draft than what they did, which would have helped them kind of this year. But overall, I mean, they're deep. They play hard every night, and they're kind of upsetting some teams, which has kind of been impressive. They can hang with the Warriors, and in the past, man, they just get blown out by the upper echelon and kind of stuck in that 4 seed. But they can really compete this year, and they're going to be a tough out come playoff time. I don't think they can get to the championship, but I think they're going to be a really tough out.
So I'm looking at their draft, and I don't think there's anyone really behind them that I would have taken, but they traded their pick anyway to get Steven Adams.
Yep.
And then I think they got a kicker. But anyways, yeah, Desmond Bain has been a godsend for this team. He's hopefully this keeps on going. He was last year, year before last. He's only a second-year player, so hopefully he takes another leap into that all-star realm. I'm trying to find the splits real quick. So this year he's shooting 43.2% for on 2 to 4 attempts, which is really good, like really, really good. And no, that was last year. He's taken 3 to 7 attempts and he's shooting 42%. I apologize. But yeah, he's just leveled up. It's what you want to see in second-year players. I think while Valanciunas is a better player, I don't think that's in debate. I think, like you said, Steven Adams knows his role and fits this team better. I think he is by far the worst player that you guys have, but he makes up for it, and he's Jaw's enforcer. I love the game the other day. I can't exactly remember who they were playing when Jaw got into it with somebody. And Steven Adams, literally, Jaw pushes him. Steven Adams walks over and picks him up and just suns a grown-ass man. And spins him around. We're not going to do this, and moves on. They are
Jason Momoa of the NBA. That's what I always think of him as.
He's Jason Momoa of the NBA, but he talks like Korg from it's great. I love him. But I'm trying to find the conference real quick. I have an issue with ESPN, but what else is new? I think they're third.
I know they were fourth, but I think they went on a couple win streaks. So yeah,
they're third at 32-17, and that's already impressive. But yeah, they're fun to watch, and I think that they could really give anyone a series. So it'll be fun to see how they go. I don't think they make any moves before the trade deadline. I wouldn't. This team likes each other, and for NBA teams, that's so rare.
Yeah, and for Memphis, they don't really attract free agents. So if they trade for someone, like they won't be able to re-sign them anyway, which is hard. So Memphis really has to build through the draft, and they've kind of hit on a couple picks here. I would have gone different way in the draft on some of them, but I mean they've hit on enough picks to. And then Jaw, I mean, like that was a big one to hit on. So you have that point guard for the future, and he's, he'll be in the MVP race in a year or two.
Yeah, he's in the MVP race now. I'm going to be 100% honest. But yeah, I agree. We can talk about the Heat another day. Those are my boys, Jimmy Butler. I love him. I think he'd be perfect for Memphis, to be 100% honest. But yeah. So that's going to wrap up like I said, I didn't expect to spend more than five seconds on this. And I just get carried away talking about NBA stuff. I love it. It's that much. So yeah, moving to our next segment, Nasty Nate's Betting Corner, where we are going to get the official Nasty picks. And I am so excited.
So the can't miss game, and I think the lock of the week is definitely to take the Chiefs -7. I would throw all my money on that. If you're wanting to make a little money, it's smart money to kind of, sprinkle a little bit on the Niners money line. If you're just kind of looking to, pick the underdog, I would not pick the Bengals money line at all. I think that's a bad bet. But I don't mind the Niners if you're taking the money line and looking for an upset pick. I think the Niners would be the one out of the NFL games. Over-unders are rough. I mean, that Chiefs over-under of 56, that's a lot of points. The Chiefs themselves can put up that many points against the Bengals, but man, that's a lot of points. So I would probably go on the under on that, and the over in the Niners game. That's going to be a tough 46.5. That's tough, but I do like the over in the Niners game, and maybe take the under.
The line?
Chiefs. Yeah.
The line? It's 3.
No. The over under in the Niners is 46.5.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got you.
Yeah. If you're taking the line, I would actually I would go 49ers money line over betting them +3. I think the smarter money is just taking the money line over the spread. But yeah, I think lock of the week. I think I'm going to throw a lot of money at it, but I'm going Chiefs -7. I just don't think it's even close. I think they win double digits easy.
I tend to agree, and I think the spicy little parlay is San Fran money line, and then as much shit as I've talked about them this entire podcast, but the Chiefs -7 at -110, and then the 49ers money line +146 get you a nice little 369 plus.
Yeah, I think that's the parlay that I would do if you're looking to make a little cash. I think that's where the smart money kind of lies. Now it's going to be, changes if Debo is hurt and Trent Williams is hurt. That changes big time.
Very much so.
Didn't think you have to run the Rams. But yeah, just depending on health at the end of the week, like if Debo's healthy, Trent Williams healthy, I think smart money to put money line Niners.
I agree. I just looked at the money lines for both the games together. Kansas City and LA, my parlay gets you a +104 odds.
I mean, that's not bad either.
Not bad. I think what I was looking at are the futures, and I thought for the Super Bowl, Kansas City is +125. I think
It's a smart bet.
it's a smart bet. I don't think any team, like, I would love to see the Bengals win. I don't think any team can compete with them. I think we had our Super Bowl last Sunday.
Yeah.
But I like that bet a lot. And then I wonder if FanDuel will let you. Okay, you can't parlay that. I was hoping you could parlay the Kansas City Chiefs outright with the Kansas City over LA.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't. But they won't let you do that. But Kansas City over LA gets you 100 +100. And then just with straight bets, Kansas City to beat. Oh, I apologize. That was just a matchup. Kansas City to beat the Los Angeles Rams is +240 on the line. And I really like that.
I like going. I mean, you can make two bets. You can do Chiefs beating the Rams and then make another ticket Chiefs beating the Niners. I think the Chiefs kind of beat either one. I don't think either team can stop the other one. But yeah, especially Chiefs over Niners. That defense can't hold up at all. They don't have the secondary talent. Rams have a better opportunity of beating the Chiefs than the 49ers do.
I agree. Just for that line, the Kansas City Chiefs over the 49ers is +450.
That's a nice bet right now.
Or if you really want to get ballsy, the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Los Angeles Rams is +13.
Yeah.
+1,300.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. I didn't hit the show more. The longest odds for the Super Bowl straights are Cincinnati Bengals to beat the San Francisco 49ers, which I think is kind of bullshit because I'd rather bet the Bengals over the 49ers. But that's just me. But it's +2,100.
Yeah. I don't think you might not see either of those teams in the Super Bowl anyway. So
nope. All right. So tell me again, just for posterity, what's your lock of the week and what are you betting this weekend?
Oh, lock of the week is going to be Chiefs -7. Not even going to parlay that. I think that's a safe bet. I think that's a can't lose bet. So I would put my money towards that versus like rocking a parlay. If you want the parlay, I'd probably take Chiefs -7, Niners money line. And then the long odds, if you want the big odds, I think Chiefs over Niners Super Bowl at +450 is a really good bet right now.
All right, just so you know that we are going to keep track of the locks of the week, and then we're going to have a little running. I'm going to put a running counter on the screen.
Chiefs -7.
I agree. That is that would be my lock of the week as well, but I'm not the degenerate gambler. So moving on to, I think, the most fun segment that we have. It's going to be the top 10.
Oh yeah, this is a good one to start off the top 10 with too.
I agree. So in honor of the NFL playoffs, which I think, as much as I love the NBA, are the greatest time of the year. The top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. So Nasty and I have both came up with a list, and I'll even read you guys Ike's because he did unfortunately had to dip out. But Nasty, Can you give the people your list?
Oh yeah, so we'll go number one and kind of work our way down, just because like I think this should be everyone's number one, so there's no like
It's
surprise here.
unanimous.
Yeah, the point where what he's done in his career, like you can't really debate it anymore. It's Tom Brady. If it wasn't for Eli Manning, like his legacy would be like untouchable, and even though it probably still is today, but it'd be like a clean,
Nick Foles.
untouchable legacy. Yeah, Nick Foles. That one hurt.
Bears quarterback Nick Foles.
Those two quarterbacks that you lose to are Eli Manning and Nick Foles. That hurts. That hurts big time. But yeah, I mean, like the Super Bowls that he's won, how old he is, and still performing at MVP type caliber. I mean, it's impressive. You can't really, deny that he's the GOAT. And I don't think, Mahomes has a chance with the team that he's on in terms of like Super Bowl wins, but it's hard to replicate what he has over the years. And then like you got to think of the talent that's been around him. That guy did not have a lot of wide receivers around. He had Randy Moss, and look what he did that year. He broke all the records
and didn't win.
Yep, and didn't. And so Tom Brady's the GOAT. Number two, and this is just based off of pure talent and like how he throws the ball. I think Aaron Rodgers is unreal in terms of the throws that he makes. He's very cerebral, but yeah, just his arm talent alone, like that dude can ball. I've never seen kind of anything like it. You wish that he had more Super Bowls and won more playoff games than he has. But you can say the same thing about Peyton Manning. I think Aaron Rodgers is, way more talented than what Peyton Manning was in terms of arm talent. Number three, Joe Montana. I'm a 49er bias, but I do think, Joe Montana was the GOAT for the long, before Brady, basically. That dude was just won Super Bowl after Super Bowl. He had 4 Super Bowls under his belt, commanded that West Coast offense. That's still used today, the West Coast offense, and he ran that to perfection. He's just one of those dudes that was just a winner and put up the stats too. So Joe Montana being number three. Number 4, Peyton Manning. Man, he would be a lot higher up on the list if he won Super Bowls, but that dude could not win Super Bowls at all. Probably one of the best regular season quarterbacks that you could possibly ever have. Broke all the records there. Cerebral, man, that dude can just pick apart a defense. But yeah, the Super Bowls really hurt him. Number 5, if this dude won any Super Bowls, like you want to talk about arm talent, you want to talk about overall talent, Dan Marino. Like go watch his highlights. That dude could ball out. He was like the Aaron Rodgers back in the day. And he just, didn't have the team around him to really compete, which kind of leaves him out of like, that top 3 category. But if you want to go like based on like quarterback play and talent, that dude could have been in the top 3 if he had any sort of run at a Super Bowl. Number 6, John Elway. That dude again, like cannon for an arm. He was athletic. He was kind of like that Josh Allen build. That's the type of quarterback he was. And it wasn't until like later on in his career where he actually, won the Super Bowls, which kind of cemented his legacy. But he did it for such a long time, and that dude is just an athlete. Great Broncos teams that he had. Got blown out by the Niners in the Super Bowl early on, but came back, beat the Packers in the Super Bowl. I think they went back-to-back with the Broncos 98, 99, I think, beating the Falcons and beating the Packers. 7, Brett Favre. Based on the Croc pick alone, he probably just deserves a top 10 slot. So even if he sucked, the Croc pick definitely does, at least an honorable mention there. But yeah, the gunslinger mentality, like he brought that to the NFL. That dude, it was not pretty. Like it is not pretty the way he played, and he made a lot of mistakes. But when he was on, he was on. That dude had a cannon. So, got his Super Bowl. Played, he was the Iron Man before kind of Brady. That guy played, brought the Vikings close to a Super Bowl. We'll forget about the Jet year that he had there. But yeah, when you think about the Packers, you think about Brett Favre. Number 8, Drew Brees. This dude is just accurate beyond belief. Small stature guy, came back from a pretty disgusting, injury, with the Chargers, getting traded to the Saints, brought that city a Super Bowl. But yeah, his precision in passing was unreal when he was kind of in his prime. That dude could throw the back shoulder fade like no one's business. But yeah, accurate, smart, and one of those shorter quarterbacks that back when he first started playing, that still wasn't a thing in the NFL. Like if you were short, you're kind of ruled out. But yeah, watching him play, like he was just a surgeon out there in terms of accuracy. Number 9, Steve Young, got to bring that lefty. That dude coming, out of the shadow of, Joe Montana is rough. But I mean, he led some great 49ers teams, got that Super Bowl. I think he threw 5 touchdowns against the Chargers in the Super Bowl. But yeah, that guy could run, he had the arm, and really, like I said, almost like that Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type scenario where Brett Favre, that legend, retires. Aaron Rodgers comes in, wins a Super Bowl. I think you can kind of speak in the same realm of him with, Montana and then Young. And then number 10, Mike Vick, 2004 Madden edition. Didn't matter how bad you were at Madden. If you were playing with Mike Vick in 2004, you were unstoppable. If he could have been that in his career, before like the dogfighting stuff, of course, got in the way. But if he was any like the 2004 edition, that's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Unstoppable. But yeah, that runs up my list.
Yeah, so I agree with the Mike Vick point. I think, so obviously I haven't said mine yet, but looking at yours, I think you value arm talent almost above anything else.
Yeah,
and,
for the most part.
I
The way they
understand
play the game. I mean, Super Bowls are tied into it. Otherwise, Marino would be a lot higher.
Yeah, I think with my list, what you're going to see is a lot of stats and then a lot of legacy and like how they move the game forward. I kind of took the LeBron aspect. No, actually, I took the Jordan aspect of this. Like they were great in themselves, whereas ironically, I think you took the LeBron argument in a lot of these. Like just went pure like talent and just like not exactly like accomplishments, except for Brady, obviously, who's bonkers. But yeah, I wouldn't argue. I think we just looked at the list different. So for mine, I think Tom Brady, the GOAT, just straight up off the bat. I went a little buck wild with the stats on here, so bear with me. 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time MVP, 3-time NFL MVP, 3-time All First Team, 3-time All Second Team, 15-time Pro Bowler, and he also won a national championship.
Yeah, I think he's like the backup, right? Or
he did not play.
Yeah,
but he did win a national championship in Michigan. 84,520 yards record, 64.2 completion percentage, 642 to 203 touchdowns and interceptions. Super impressive. 97.6 overall passer rating, 27 rushing touchdowns. And I threw this in here just because I know how much it means to him. 1,127 rushing yards. He holds the records in wins, touchdowns, yards, completions, attempts. There is no debate. It's Tom Brady.
He didn't have any rushing yards.
I just remember he made a really big deal of it when he popped 1,000.
Yeah.
And it cracked me up. But for number 2, I have Peyton Manning, the sheriff. It was hard between him and Montana, but I think Peyton is just – I hold Peyton in very high regard. 2-time Super Bowl championship. He was dragged to one of them, but he still won it, so it counts. 1-time Super Bowl MVP, 5-time MVP is insane.
Oh, yeah, one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time.
7-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team All-Pro, which is insanely difficult to do. This is where the NFL differs a lot from the NBA, where All-Star and Pro Bowl are not equivalent. If you're not one of the first team or second team All-Pros, you're one of the best that year. So 10 years out of his career, he was top 2, which is very impressive. He never beat the Florida Gators, but his stats are incredible. 71,000 passing or 72,000 approximate passing yards, 65% completion percentage, 539 touchdowns to 251 interceptions. Still holds the record for most touchdowns in the season, which even with the extra game, no one came close to this year, which is bonkers. Most passing yards in the season, also with the extra game, no one came close, 5,477, and then most touchdowns in a game, 7. I just love Peyton Manning, so yeah, I think he had to be 2. Joe Montana, number 3. Joe Cool. Like you said, he's right up there with the GOAT. 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time MVP. I won't read out all the.
Andy wears shape-ups, Skechers shape-ups. So,
and those are the most
legacy.
He wins. Those are the Crocs of the sneaker.
What he is to Skechers, Brett Favre is to Wrangler jeans.
And the Copper Top Fitness.
Oh, yeah.
I think Joe Montana deserves to be top 3 just for the catch. That was one of the greatest moments in NFL history. Number 4, I have Johnny Unitas. Like I said, I value legacy very highly. He's only a 1-time Super Bowl champion, but a 4-time NFL champion. So kind of bridged the gap there. I think he moved the league forward and just was of his era, was one of the best of his era. 5-time first team, 3-time second team, 4-time NFL passing leader, and then 4-time touchdown leader in a league that was much different from the one that we have today, where running backs were your MVPs, and it was just the way it is. I'm not hurried to stats because you can't compare. It's pretty bonkers, I think, in doing this, that like comparing not even. Let me see the lowest modern quarterback I have. I think the lowest modern quarterback I have is A-Rod, and he's not done yet, and he has 55,000 passing yards. Unitas has 40,000.
Yeah.
Also for that time, bonkers. No, and speaking of A-Rod, he's now at number 5. 1 Super Bowl MVP, 3-time MVP, about to be 4. I feel like he's going to win it. He still holds the records for highest passer rating in a season in NFL history, and then lowest interception percentage for a season at 0.3.
It's impressive.
It is.
Does not turn over the ball.
He does not. If he didn't only target 2 people last game, he probably would have won.
Yeah.
And then I have a curveball. I have Otto Graham. When I kind of looked into him, and then I saw him on a bunch of lists because I did some research for this, obviously, and his name just kept popping up. And I'm like, why is this dude who played for the Browns on this list? And so I'll just read off. 3-time NFL champions. This is pre-Super Bowl era. 3-time MVP, 4-time first team, 2-time second team. 4-time AAFC champ, 2-time AAFC MVP, and then had 44 rushing touchdowns. He only had 13,500 yards.
He ran a lot, though.
He ran a lot. He held the highest QBR until Montana. And I think that is by far the most impressive stat, and also in one of the categories where we judge quarterbacks in yards per attempt, he led the NFL at 9, and it's just one of those legacies, and he's a 7-time champion. He's Brady before Brady.
Yeah.
Obviously,
he played for the Vikings too at the end of his career, part of his career. Was he a Viking?
I believe so for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, is this Field of Dreams?
In what?
Midnight Graham?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, and it was one of those things that just popped in my head.
Yeah.
But, I have him 6. It's arguable, but I held the championships in high regard and for his era, just what he did. And then my most regrettable pick on here is Dan Marino, not because he's on the list, but because he's so low. I think he is by far one of the most talented. He is the most talented player not to win a championship. I don't think there's an argument there.
Yeah.
He was an MVP. Stats. Crazy stats. For his time, I don't remember when he retired. It was the 90s, right?
Yeah. I think he was at 55,000 passing yards or something like that.
61,361.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. and he still had an over 2-to-1, no, a little bit under a 2-to-1% interception, TD interception. Just it's Dan Marino. I wish he'd been on teams that competed because I think we were robbed as just not historians, but like is a history of a game of what his talent was. 8, I have Roger Staubach, Captain Comeback, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. Arguably would have had more, but he did 4 years in military service in the Navy. So I kind of gave him that. Also, it's Staubach. It's kind of says for itself. His yards are not very good, but also it's a different game. 9, I have Elway. I put Elway lower than you, basically just because of the first half of his career. If you're that dude, you're that dude. I don't, but he made up for it, and he gave us Shannon Sharp on Undisputed. So thank you for that, because I couldn't deal with Skip Bayless by himself. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. TD had the other one-time MVP, which I was surprised. And he also has a Super Bowl as an executive, but Peyton Manning, which is probably why I put Peyton Manning at 2. He single-handedly got John Elway another Super Bowl. And then for my last one, I had to have Steve Young. I love Steve Young. I think he's right up there with Dan Marino as one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks. I feel like, yeah, you're right. He did come after Joe Montana, but he also won 3 freaking Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Like he was just impressive, and he also ran a 4.55.
Oh yeah, impressive. He kind of showed those wheels off. So he brought that dual quarterback before it was really a lot of them out there. So he had the ability to escape. And if you see like the run plays that he makes, if you just look at the highlight reels for people who don't have never watched Steve Young play, which I'm getting so old that it's become like the population of like a lot of these guys, like no one's ever actually watched play, and they're pretty like newer QBs to me, like era wise. So yeah, definitely pull up Steve Young highlights, and that dude could ball, but the big thing is he could run too.
He could. Yeah, I couldn't put. I think who did you have that I didn't? Let me look. You had Favre. I don't. Favre's touchdowns and interceptions alone. Throw him out. It's bad. I like the gunslinger mentality. He's super talented, but not as a top 10 of all time. I can't put Drew Brees in there because he paved the way for Baker Mayfield to be drafted. Plus, he only won 1 Super Bowl, and I don't know. I think maybe watching him the last few years tainted my memory of Brees.
Just check down Brees, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my list, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of honorable mentions. We've had a lot of good quarterbacks. The only one I really would fight against is one that's on Ika's list, and also Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, Big Ben.
Which I was listening to a podcast, and somebody did that. Said there's an argument that he's a top 10 quarterback. No, he's not.
Yeah.
No. So I'll read off Ika's list because he's not here to defend himself. But number 1's Brady. Number 2, he agrees with me, Peyton. Number 3, Montana. Number 4, Rodgers. Number 5, Brees. Number 6, Marino. Number 7, Elway. Number 8, Young. And I'm pretty sure Ika had a stroke at this point because this man honestly put the grocery bagger Kurt Warner on here. And okay,
I mean, great on turf.
Greatest show on turf. Didn't they lose?
They lost. Well, they beat the Titans, and then they lost to the Pats.
They beat the Titans by a yard, and then yeah. Anyway, and then I think Ika full on did die, and then was resurrected. He put Warren Moon on there. I like Warren Moon, but I don't think he's close to being a top 10 talent. But I'm not gonna bash Ika's list anymore. Yeah. That's what we got.
What you see is the game has changed so much that it's hard to put the older guys in there because of the how they throw the ball today. The offensive schemes are so different. It's more sophisticated offense, and then like stats wise, like these guys are going to put up massive stats. They're trained differently, so the QBs coming out now are just totally different breed. So it's hard to be like, and it would just be like the NBA type discussion. If you're trying to like from errors, you can't ding them for not being in the era that they play in now. Would they be as good? Yeah, no, but you have to respect like what they did in their era. Just that's the game, how it was played. But I think you have a couple of guys playing right now who are likely to jump into that top 10 list, which is impressive. I mean, like Mahomes, he's probably going to be there pretty soon if he doesn't get hurt. You got Burrow, you have Justin Herbert, who I think has the talent to get into the top 10.
He has a rocket arm.
Yeah, and then you got Josh Allen. I mean, you got a lot of guys in the league right now that can jump a lot of these other guys.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, he might be, one of those like top 10 draft busts, but yeah.
Oh, actually, I just thought of one that was a rookie this year that could be in there. It's Mac Jones could also.
That's a whole podcast on Mac Jones.
Yeah, so let's not start that because I agree with you in almost every way. But yeah, I think that wraps up. Like I said, wraps up the top 10. Ike's not here to defend himself, so we won't bash his list too much. But yeah, I really like this exercise. I like top 10 lists, and I also like drafts. I think that could be really fun. So we might in the future alternate between these two. But I think that these are really fun thought exercises to use buzzwords, and then it's just fun for us to shit on each other a little bit.
Super Bowl, we might go, like top 10 Super Bowl foods that you got to have, like a snake draft on that.
I like that a lot, actually. So that is the end of the top 10, and concurrently, that is the end of the podcast. If you've listened this far, we appreciate it. Hopefully next week Ike could stay with us longer, but he's having to move, and he's having to deal with a lot of stuff with his kids and all of the responsibilities that get brought with that. Nasty setup will hopefully look better too. He just moved to move himself. Yeah, if that concludes this podcast, if you would like to follow, if you haven't gotten sick of us by yet, and would like to give us a follow, there links are in the description as well as the I believe end of the podcast. But thank you for joining us, and hope you have a good night.